G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors. Oh boy. And but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
G'day all, how are you?
Oh, good mate, good.
We did say last week that we had something special coming up, didn't we?
Oh God, I don't know.
I don't quite know how I'm going to handle it.
Yeah.
I did say I'm going to have to get out of my nervous box.
Yeah.
Hey?
We've pre-recorded this, and I can honestly say we just fanned out on this one. We're all three of us were just sitting there like fans. So let's bring in the other bloke so he can contribute.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
G'day, gents.
G'day.
Yeah, it was a bit of a fanboy out, wasn't it?
It
I
was.
must admit, after the interview, I sent a few messages to a few mates who this would really relate to.
Yeah.
And you think with our marketing hat on, we'd actually promote it a little bit. We've done nothing.
I know. That's exactly what I was thinking. But I guess our listeners can share it out there. But far out when I thought about it, but I thought I might be disrespectful for our last guest. So I just didn't want to.
Well, all of our guests are special. There's no question.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
exactly.
There's absolutely no
But
question. But
You could argue
when-
that our guest this week is the greatest that's ever been.
he's the goat.
Yeah.
Well, one of there's probably two goats in the field, really, maybe three. But this is
No, I'm talking all sport. You could
But if
actually
you were just imagine if you're the lone goat in the field,
I know.
you'd be living all by yourself. There's got to be a couple of goats
It's got to be a couple of goats.
in the paddocks.
Well, different types of goats.
Hey boys, you're pretty professional this week with your virtual backgrounds.
Yeah.
You've done good too.
Yeah, I've got roller door. I'm literally sitting in the crew house. We're up here in Port Stephens.
Yeah. Lovely
Got
spot.
the computer posed on the table tennis table.
Beautiful.
Mm.
You got
All
the
of
barbecue,
which,
barbecue
as
in
you-
the background.
Yeah, barbecue in the background. All of which you could imagine it was quite a hell of a table tennis tournament last night.
Oh yeah.
You got the
Feel my
you got
good
the-
self. Ever snapped a table tennis bat?
Only in sexual encounters.
Well, okay. And then,
dear.
but we're back in the kind of the crew house scene. Bloody good, the crew house.
Yeah,
and
good.
we found the cards.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And of course, we're, get home after a crew dinner, a few games of and I'll ask you blokes, what's like kind of the one most fundamental rule of
So when you got one card left.
Correct. So as my counterparts who I'm playing last night, forgot to say it on a couple of occasions. And here I come in for the final nail in the coffin in the last game in the evening. What do I forget to do?
Oh no.
Say it.
Forget to say,
You got too
But
excited.
good living. And as it turns out, one of our ex-guests, Ben Lamb, one of another goat, is part of the household here. Well, so
there you go. Only a week ago. A week and a half ago we had one, didn't we? Yeah.
So maybe this week's guest might be our tactician next week.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be worthy. Righto.
I love it. Should we bring our guest in?
We shall.
Absolutely.
Okay. Obviously, the three of us all done a bit of windsurfing in our past, and we've had the great Phil McGain, we've had Robbie Nash, and there's only one other person that we really, 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 really wanted to get on the show, and he's not easy to get in for an interview, but he seemed quite keen to come and have a chat to us, and we're eternally grateful. So our guest this week is a 42-time world champion. 42-time world champion, including as a professional in the waves, in the 12-time overall PWA champion, dominated the sport of windsurfing from the sort of late 80s right through, and is still competing now into his 50s, and his son's starting to shine. And we can't be more happy to say welcome to Bar Karate, Mr. Björn Dunkerbeck.
Thanks, mate. How's it going?
In the best Australian accent.
Appropriate. I like it. Hey, Bjorn, look, we've got a long way to go here, and Jordan just pumped you up like you wouldn't believe. But have you spent much time in Aussie? Like, you're in the Canaries now, and we can see the palm trees in the background, all that sort of stuff. But any thoughts you want to move down here at any point in time?
Oh, look at that.
Actually, my first long trip was to Australia. I had a photo shoot when I was 16 years old in Antigua in the Caribbean
Yep,
with F2 at the time.
that's right.
Mhm.
Then I flew from from Antigua to London. Was 10 hours in London, Bangkok, Melbourne. And there was the Rip Curl Pro down at Bells Beach, actually.
Bells Beach, Torquay.
In Torquay, yes.
You
When I
stayed
met
with
Jason
Greg
Polidor
Johns.
for the very first time.
That's
He's
it.
like a year younger than me, and I competed at the Rip Curl Pros, and we actually ended up having the wave sailing at Bells Beach and the slalom and the racing down at Torquay Beach. So, yes, I did.
And
that was my very first trip to Australia.
And Bjorn?
I still went up the coast, up to Sydney. I spent a bit of time at Longreef with Mark Pedersen and Greg Jones, the F2 importer at the time, and still is, actually.
Yep.
Then I actually made my way up to Brisbane for some light windsurfing competitions. And I've been back since then, Perth, Sydney, probably 25 times since then. Did the Landsland long distance race many times. Actually won it once as well.
Yeah. As
you probably know, I'm sponsored by Severn Sails, which is based in Perth.
Yeah.
So
Ben
first
Severn,
years, I went down there testing sails like 3 times over the winter, sometimes 1 week, sometimes 10 days. The shortest trip, I think, was 3 days from the Canary Islands all the way down to Perth and back again.
Well, Benny Severn is an old Adelaide boy where we all three of us met, so we actually know Ben. I was just going to say, at that first trip to Australia for the Rip Curl Classic, you played cricket in the park with Johnsy, and do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, we played cricket and we played golf, and we had a great time.
And I was competing against you, mate.
I think he was bowling at you.
Yeah, if you recognise a guy with red hair that just sent one down, like steaming down the pitch at you, that was this idiot here.
Anyway,
Jordan Spencer.
I remember you, mate. I remember you distinctly because, we had no idea who you were, and you get out in the waves and you were just so loose and supple and doing these amazing things, like it was pretty cool. I do distinctly remember you turning up to Australia that first time. So, and then I thought, this kid might go somewhere, and Jesus.
Still going.
Yeah, still going. That's it. What made you get into windsurfing?
My parents actually fell in love with windsurfing in Denmark already in 1976.
Yeah.
My mother loved the beach. My father didn't like it that much. So she booked a windsurfing course because he saw some funny instruments at the beach in Germany somewhere. And then they just started from there. Then they changed the skiing holidays in Austria to windsurfing holidays on Gran Canaria. And they actually put a Mistral super wind on a charter flight from Denmark to the Canary Islands, which was quite a mission in the
carry-on luggage
time. And that was
but that didn't fit in the overhead locker.
Holiday 77, 78.
Wow.
Then they decided they loved the lifestyle so much that they sold everything in Denmark, and they opened the Windsurf Center in April in 1978. Oh. And our Windsurf Center is still running. We do surfing, bodyboarding, stand-up paddling, and of course windsurfing and wingfoiling now as well.
Yeah.
So you got to say that this was all pretty well destined. Then your parents sort of half paved the way for you, and here you are today. When you started, obviously it was because we had. This all started last week, you and I chatting, because we had Robbie Nash on the show a year or so ago. And the same thing he brought up was that no one really knew where it was going to go, the professional side of things, and how it was going to grow. And did you think at any stage it was going to end up where it's ended up like this now?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it was a one design situation where many people don't know that my mother was actually second in the windsurfer class in Greece in 1978. Mm-hmm. And it was top 3 the years after, like 80, 81. And my father, Eugene, was actually Spanish speed champion in the mid 80s as well. And did actually qualify for European championships in 1986 together with me when we went to 1984, when I went to qualify for the Scheveningen competition when I was only like 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah.
So the real background is really my parents that fell in love with windsurfing. And I'm second generation.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part.
Because the other thing, mate, because I think your dad's Dutch, your mum's Danish.
Yeah, my father. Exactly.
You raced under a Spanish flag, and now I look on the Red Bull site, you're listed as Danish. So, you're a Bitzer. What are you? Can we claim you as an Aussie, mate?
Yeah.
The Germans claim as a German, the Danish claim as a Danish, the Dutch as a Dutch, and the Canadians they claim as a Canadian, the Spanish they actually claim as for Spanish. So I'm a European.
Mate, we're happy to claim you as well if you want.
You get a mate. You get a mate's pass, so that's all right. We'll roll with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've probably been spent more than a year in Australia if you count all the days. So
Yeah.
it's over the last 40 years.
It's true. So when did you think, like, you know, obviously growing up and doing it every day, because you're at a windsurfing centre, your parents are doing it every day, you grow up with it. So I guess you just get naturally good. Was that, do you reckon that's what gave you the kick? Or, you know, have you got something special? Well, obviously you do.
Like in any sport, I mean, the younger you start, the more you're going to like learn and the easier you're going to learn. And I think it's very important that kids get the opportunity to go windsurfing when they're young. So all windsurf parents, get your kids to the windsurf center so they learn it right and early.
Right. Any particular...
Because in a growing process, everything comes in naturally, you know.
Yeah.
And you guys know that. But
Yeah.
obviously, throwing a ball through the air or hitting a cricket ball, this is like a standard thing in Australia. But windsurfing is not so much spread out in all areas. Surfing has become a school sport, and that's why you have so many champions in surfing. And the same thing could happen in windsurfing as well, because in sailing you're really good as well. And you had excellent windsurfers over the years, but with all that coastline, I think a few more things could happen down there.
Yeah.
So 10 years old, Bjorn, are you on the water every day?
I would say I learned it when I was 8. And from 10 on, I was pretty much 300 days on the water a year, yes.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Gran Canaria is that we really have great weather 365 days
So
a
take
year.
out
You can go on the water every
Christmas
single
Day, Easter, and all that. So what about 30 days at school?
In my young ages, we had school only until 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
then I pretty much would go to the windsurf center and I would be on the water. If I wasn't injured, I was on the water.
Wow. Wow. How often were you sanding down the calluses on your hand, mate?
If you sail often enough, they wear down by themselves.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, what was your true love though? Like you started out young because, as you said, it was one design when you started out. We all remember the F2 Lightning, which you mentioned when you first got going, and then you started doing wave sailing. Obviously, where you're living, you can do all of that. You know, you can do slalom, you can do course racing, and you can do but pretty much everything, the wave sailing. So, what was your real love?
Well, in the beginning, I did
in the beginning,
class, you know. Then I did Division 2. I even did Canadian Championships, and I won the Canadian Champions on Division 2.
Wow,
that was even before the Lightning.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of competition experience at a very young age, and always in light winds because I was very light. I was flying.
You're not light
anymore. When the wind got stronger, I got blown away. And that has changed over the years.
For all of us. But you inspired us to start windsurfing when you and the crew that were going around. You got us into it when we were young. Bicey, myself, and Jordan got into it when we were, back in Adelaide. But now we're what Jordan says as normal sized human beings. We see everyone still sailing. So you're still inspiring us. So it's really cool.
Thank you.
What sort of, like, have you ever done the Wally? Have you ever gone on one of them? Or are they just too small? Did you ever go down that windsurfer Wally path?
I'm not sure what you mean now.
Huh? You know, the original windsurfer? Yeah,
when I was a kid, I learned on one of those.
Yeah, right.
And I competed here in the Canary Islands on windsurfer. And then I did Division 2, Tornado, Lechner.
Yep.
The Spanish one called Roger.
Yeah.
I had all those things.
See, you got...
And then funboarding.
Yeah, and funboarding. Yeah, so you lived that whole evolution. Do you look back over the history and looking that design of the boards and the sails, like you would have seen all that change in the sail, and then you're influencing a lot of that stuff, obviously working with sail designers or board designers. Has it moved into areas that you didn't expect?
Absolutely. I mean, in 1981, when was the first time I windsurfed in Poso, I had a board that was like less than 2 meters long and a 2.9 square meter sail. This is the red-yellow one that's flying everywhere around the internet as well.
Yeah.
And in 1982 was the first time Robbie Nash actually came to join because he had a Mistral One Design World Championships here in Bahia Feliz. And he didn't compete in One Design anymore, but he did funboard. So I took him to Poso. and he's come plenty often after that, probably 20 times.
Is that right?
Which brings up a really good point. Obviously, all of that era has forged some pretty big rivalries because that's important. Competition's important, but obviously friendships as well. That's lasted forever. I mean, you've got I believe there was a celebration of Robbie's 60th. I think that was
60.
Yeah, and so it's been a very healthy thing for friendship as well along the way.
Absolutely.
So,
I met him as a kid because I'm 6 years younger. I'm turning 54 in July. So always when I met him when I was 13 years old, he was already 20.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. But the older you get, it seems like a less of a gap. Although I must say, he looks pretty old now with 60.
He listens. Be careful.
I talked to him the other week as well. He's looking good. He's feeling good too. He's motivated.
Yeah. That's good.
So who was your toughest competitor over the years? If you had to break down and pick out a few competitors, who would be the ones that gave you the most difficulty in the different?
I would say Robbie Nash for sure.
Yeah.
He was also a complete sailor in all disciplines, especially in the beginning, And it took a long time to actually be able to beat him in wave sailing. The first time was 1988 in Netherlands. And I did win in slalom and course racing before that, but the wave sailing was a tougher task. Then Anders Springdal, Nevin Sayer in the racing part. After that, Antoine Albo for sure, especially the last 10 years of my racing career. And Jason Pologov's in the waves, obviously multiple world champion as well from Turkey, Australia. And as I said before, I met him when I was a kid. So we've been growing up beside each other all life long.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Jace turning up to that rip curl as well. So, it was quite formidable because he was mad for his motorbikeking in those days. He used to do these huge jumps on motorbikes and stuff, I remember. So, and the windsurfing was softer landing for him.
Yeah, exactly. That's his backyard. He lived right there at the coastline. I can remember I went to his house and everything back in that day.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Bjorn, just in the whole, like, bringing the windsurfing school, was it just flat water? You had access to waves? You just had access to everything, like all the kit that was there? Like, how'd that work?
Well, in the beginning, you had to wait for the evolution, from one design to Division 2, from Division 2 to the Lightning, and then to smaller wave boards. But luckily, I had some custom-made French shapers all over Europe. So I had sugar boards from my friend Hansi Spanner. Then I had a few other different designs that were made for my size and my weight. And they were all around 6 foot, 6'4", like 2 meters long, So that really made a big step in my wave sailing, in my jumping in Poso especially.
Yeah.
What literage are we talking there? Like 100 liters or even less?
No,
No, that's like 50 liters. Because
50 liters.
I was a kid, I was skinny.
Wow.
I was on 2.5, 2.7, 3 meter, 3.2, and had these small, cool boards.
Yeah. Because you had probably the other guy. I was trying to think. There was a bloke in Australia. I've forgotten his name. Around that time, he was on really, really small boards, and he sort of was a flash in the pan, but I cannot remember his name. And the other one's probably Mark Angulo from Hawaii. Came out. He might have been later on for you though, but he started doing some pretty good radical stuff. Who do you stay in touch with most?
Well, all the older guys. I mean, you have the Defi win in France with over 1,300 participants in 2 weeks. And a lot of the older guys, they come there, even if they don't always compete, they're at least there to say hello,
Yeah.
And then thanks to the WhatsApp groups that we have, you can I talk to Robbie every other month and Anders as well, and a few of the other guys. And due to the Dunkerbeck Speed Challenge that we do globally, we have 3 periods a year. You probably know that.
Yep.
It's always April and May, July and August, and October, November. And at this midpoint right now, we already had 600 people on the windsurfing ranking with the fin, and 150 on foil and wing combined. And you can sign up on that on the GPS-speedsurfing.com, Dunkerbeck Speed Challenge, and you can join anywhere in the world. And we have plenty of competitors from Australia, Sandy Point, and also from the harbor out in Perth, where they're getting quicker.
Yeah.
So
all
the motivation, all age groups as well,
Yeah.
From 10 to 70 competing in the Dunkerbeck Speed Challenge. So don't miss out.
speaking of which, the speed challenge, like you obviously, what was it, 42 world titles you hold in the minute?
All disciplines, yes. This is the one thing that's 42 titles in all disciplines. And I won in wave sailing 7 times, racing and slalom around 20 something. Then the overall 12 times consecutive, 3 or 4 speed world championships, and even 1 freestyle.
Yeah.
So tell me then, like freestyle, wave, speed, where do you feel not necessarily the most comfortable, but the most satisfied?
I guess winning all 5 in '94 was a big one.
Yeah, of course.
That is impressive.
Well, I've got to say, every windsurfing kid at that point in time had your poster up on the wall.
Thank you.
No, it's true. It's true, Bjorn. It's true, Bjorn. Because I can speak for Bicey because I actually we did actually sort of spend that time a lot together, and we used to hang out down our little local beach down at Semaphore and go windsurfing a lot, and that's how it happened. That's how we got into it, and that's why we are where we are today.
You inspired a lot of people.
And Neil Bright made a great job also making some nice posters and nice promotions and all the nice videos to motivate everyone to get out on the water. And you're trying to recapture that to get more power behind the whole thing again.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's interesting because you mentioned Anders a couple of times, because I reckon he went on and he got a speed record on the Hydroport. He jumped on, he did a bit of ocean sailing, I think, on that Hydroport thing and got a world record.
Out of France, out of Antibes.
Yes. He did up there. He went on there, yes, when they did the 50 knots the first time.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing, he was a tactical on there, and he showed them the windsurfing broad courses, which helped them to go faster really quick.
Yeah. So that experience really opened it up for him. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
When you actually, if you're, because at the moment we sort of see you do speed sailing, as you said, and your program with the speed challenge is fantastic, like as Bjorn said, sign up and do it, because you can compete against everyone in the world. You just need GPS device. But when you're doing the speed sailing, mate, how do you go so fast? Is it about weight and leverage, or is it how you ride the fin, or is it about the gear? What's the secret to hitting 50 knots, 50 plus knots, mate?
Well, 50 plus knots, you need to have the kit perfectionized, obviously.
Yeah.
And you need to have the perfect water and wind angle. So the water quality, that's why Luderitz in Namibia is so quick, because the water quality is very good and the wind angle is very good as well. I believe at Sandy Point you have days where you can get similar conditions. And the only reason you haven't sailed or windsurfed faster, I think you have beat the 50 knots already on the top speed, as far as I've been following up on with Chris Lockwood and a few other guys down there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, if more people try to do it, then you're going to be sailing and windsurfing faster, because it's all like pushing each other up to new limits.
When you speak about water quality, what's that? Salinity?
Flat water.
Fresh
like
water,
a race car down the highway at 200 k's an hour is very easy. When you put it on a gravel road and you have to slow down, it's going to fly off the track. Yeah. The same thing is happening on a windsurf board. If you have flat water, you can actually use your equipment to 100% potential. But if it gets very choppy, then you cannot keep it in the water anymore.
Yep. Yeah. So with the advent of foiling, mate, do you think foiling's got the same sort of top end speed? I know we're seeing 50 knots in sort of the foiling cats and the wing rigs and the America's Cup boats. They're touching on it, so getting to that. But do you think in the foiling with windsurfing, that's got the same top end speed, or it's just not right set up?
At the moment, the light winds, foiling is definitely faster with 10, 9, and even 8 square meters.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes like you can go on a 6.2 on a slalom board. I believe that the slalom boards and speed boards are still faster. But it's just a matter of time to get the foils down to be slimmed down, because always the masts are quite wide, because they are made to be used for all kinds of front and back foils. Once they get that mast to be slimmer, I'm sure the top speed is going to improve as well.
Yeah,
the reason why the American boat and the GP boats are going so quick is because they can put that rigid mast on the boat and they just make the whole hole wider and wider and wider and wider. They're riding this relatively small foil. They've been pulling the leeward foil out of the water now, and they're reaching 50 knots quite often. But anything faster than 52, they start like getting out of control and wiping out. So they're not really keen on hitting that 54 knots mark, which is 100 Ks, because it's quite costly when they wipe out.
All right. Well, let's.
Well, I was going to ask this question.
Yeah, I'm heading down this path.
Go.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you just mentioned wipeout. We're talking about 55.98 knots at the moment. Now, we've all experienced a little bit of cavitation in our time, where you're trying to flick the fin back in underneath you to get the air out of there and reattach and get yourself going again. What's it like at 50 knots when the fin decides to skip out on you? It must be wild.
First of all, I called that 50 knot was going to be possible in 2002. I did the first real speed attempt to break a record again with Roddy Lewis on Fuerteventura.
Yeah.
And in 2003, I did the Gran Canaria Inaga Challenge with Antoine Albo, Robbie Nash, and Anders Bringle over a month. And we actually hit 47 knots max speed here in Gran Canaria, which was over the yellow pages. We didn't manage to do it on the 500-meter course because it was way too choppy when it got windy. Years after, we almost hit the 50 knots mark in France. And then Luders came up, and straight away, 50 knots. One guy, Anders Bringle, Antoine Albo, myself, Jeroen van der Noord, 5 guys did 50 knots in the first real good channel attempt down there. And after that, I said, okay, if you can do 50 knots, we can also do 100 Ks top speed in a few years. And now 5 or 6 guys have done 100 Ks top speed as well. So now it's only a matter of getting the channel to be at a perfect angle and be able to start perfect, because it's relatively short starting in Luderitz. Yeah. That's the main problem, that the acceleration has to be perfect to be able to hit 100 Ks before the starting line. Because once you hit 100 Ks with a windsurfer, you can keep the speed up pretty easily if the water quality is allowing it anyways.
Wow. So you mentioned it's about the equipment as well as the conditions. Are we seeing finite advancements in conditions for the board specifically designed for that, 55 knots? Are we going to see anything that can actually get you up higher?
Actually, I feel like that windsurfing over 50 knots with a wide water quality is not that difficult. It just gets difficult when it gets choppy, because then it gets really dramatic really quickly.
Yeah.
And I hit that 55 knots mark myself a few times, and it just feels good. It feels very stable. Actually, the quicker you go, the more stable it becomes. If the water quality is the right quality.
Wow. So what you're saying is then the equipment we've got, or you're using, can go faster as long as the conditions get. Obviously, you haven't had that perfect day yet, even though you're doing 55 plus knots. You think there's more in the conditions than the equipment?
Absolutely. The equipment can actually sail faster than what we have done in the past couple of years.
That's where I was heading.
Because the windy days, the wind was usually too broad. Mm-hmm. If it's too broad, it gets pretty wavy on the channel. So it's been pretty tricky having those magic runs. And we got a new sponsor down there this year, which is the Diamond Mine Sperrgebiet, which is going to sponsor all the handling of the channel, the digging and perfectionizing, and also the water pumps to pump up the channel, which many people don't realize that it's all important that every day the channel gets perfectionized and filled up with water, which last year cost 30,000 euros just to fill in the water in there, Wow. And the whole building of the channel is another 60,000 euros just to make sure that everything's as good as it can be. Wow. And with that new sponsor of the diamond mines and from the area of Luderitz, which is Sperrgebiet, I think that we're going to have the best channels ever and the best chance of actually beating the 100 Ks average speed on the 500 meters.
Wow.
So the question has to be, mate, the one thing we haven't touched on, if I was 5'6" and weighed about 60 kilos, would I have any chance of setting a record against what we consider a normal sized bloke, someone like yourself, like, I don't know, how tall are you, about 6'3" or something, 100 kilos?
At the moment, I'm 114.
There you go. So if somebody was 5'7" and 60 kilos, are they going to get close to what you're able to achieve because of the extra leverage?
I don't think so, no.
No.
Jordan was hoping for that answer because he's been banging on for years about trying to find a discipline that's
normal size human.
Normal, because we're all normal size humans. That's right.
That's right.
But I think with the equipment that we have nowadays, you would be able to hit the 50 knots. And Eric Beale has been proving that. He's like really experienced, obviously, but also quite old. And he's been hitting 50 and 52 knots, even at the top speed. So you guys can do it if you really want to do it.
Yeah, Jordan,
Sure,
get that knee sorted out and you're back on.
We're on.
We'll get over there.
Right, Bjorn, going back to the trench, have you had some massive wipeouts in there?
I had a few bad ones, but a lot of other guys have had a lot worse ones.
I can imagine. So the trench to the side, you've obviously had some other massive wipeouts, whether it's in Hawaii or wherever it is. So give us the worst one where you're just underwater and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm done.
There's been so many bad ones. Wave sailing, speed sailing, I couldn't even walk for days after wiping out at some Le Cut competition like 10 years ago. My sternum was completely compressed. I could not even move. And if you wipe out the channel, you're usually not windsurfing anymore that day anyways. Unless you're lucky to skitter across the water, then you've been lucky. But if you have a bad one, then you don't go anymore.
So where do you stay there? Like, are you in some luxury hotel or are you just in your camper van?
We have the Nest Hotel. The Nest Hotel has actually been our sponsor for all of the Luritz Speed Challenge editions. And it's only 5-6 kilometers away, and it's very pleasant. You can get out of the wind a little bit. We have a nice lawn and you can rig our stuff. They have the best oysters in the world, and power up for next day.
I love it. Love it. So what about so Bossy talking about some of the biggest prangs you've had, but what about, like, how big a celebrity did you get? Like, in Australia, we probably didn't see it as big as, like, we all recognise your talent and we recognise that you were the man for quite a long time in our sport, like, and, it's still right there. How crazy, what's some of the crazy stuff that happened to you? Like, because, looking at your record, it's hard to deny that you're not one of the greatest athletes that's ever been.
Thank you. Well, in the 90s, always had the big competitions over here in Europe, like Silt. We still have 200,000 visitors during the week, and it's still very crazy. This year's on the 23rd of September to the 2nd of October. My son is competing in the wave sailing now, so I'm up there as well. I'm also an ambassador for that competition. But we used to have the Silt one, then we had the Netherlands one, was also like 2 weekends with another couple of 100,000 people, and then France afterwards. And also we had P.S. Davis and Travel, which was Philip Morris at the time sponsoring most of the world tour. In Germany, it was West Fashion. In the Netherlands was Pall Mall Export. And then the rest of the world was Peter Stuyvesant and Travel, which included the Caribbean with Aruba, Fuerteventura, Tarifa, and also the Loa Classic. And then you had sometimes cigarettes in Japan. So you had a massive tour with a lot of budget and a lot of television minutes. And then all of a sudden,
and a lot of burners.
And a lot of burners, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem was then was not allowed to do television programs with these cover marks anymore, and then we lost all our sponsorship.
Yep,
and never really recovered from that loss.
Yeah, that's we picked up on that. I think we chatted to Phil McGain and a lot about that, didn't we? And about sort of where the ebbs and flows, if you like, of the tour and how it's where it peaked and where it's gone. I think though. You look at what's going on with social media and that. I think it's still hugely popular. What we're seeing, some of the things we're seeing.
I think in the areas where we have good windsurf centers, there's a lot of action going.
Yep.
And where people forgot about building a nice windsurf center, it's kind of died because people like to have a nice service and a nice sandwich and a little bit of a après windsurfing as well. It's like, who would go to a mountain and go skiing if you didn't have a nice lift?
Or somewhere to have some lunch and a spritzer afterwards.
Spritzer.
Exactly.
So
the whole thing about having a family it's a nice sport for any family to go windsurfing, because you can do it all life long. It's kind of the same thing as skiing. You can do it all life long, but you need to have some kind of comfort when you're doing it. It's a holiday sport, it's a fun sport. And even if you go for the weekends, you would like some kind of nice time after the windsurfing as well.
To the sponsorship thing, you've obviously had some beauties in your time. Well, namely, Neil Pride in our generation. And here you sit in front of us with Red Bull. And prior to the show, you were saying they've been on your side for 30 years now. Mate, there's a lot that have been behind you for a long time. Who else has been there? And I reckon there's been a few funny ones along the way as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I started off with Ep2, which I was sponsored with for 20 years with Reinhard Pascha and Peter Brockhaus. I just went to his 80th birthday just a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And he's actually still windsurfing and still like spicy on fire. So that's nice to see. And always with Neil. Neil has been sailing all his life. And I've been talking to him on LinkedIn a couple of times also over the last years. His son is doing a bike business with him now. So he's still like playing around and having fun. And obviously, I've been working a long time with Barry Spanier, also with Willie Blau in the very beginning from Australia on the Neil Pride team.
Yep.
Then after that with Niels Rosenblatt, which was a nice area as well in the Neil Pride sail design. Then after that, Kai Hopf, another Australian. I think he's from the Sydney area, right? For 3 years, also Norse.
That's right.
Actually managed to do championships in slalom and championships also in speed sailing with his sails. Then I went on Sven Rasmussen's gear and the boards, star boards, which I've been on ever since, and also with Ben Severn, which we made many championships in speed sailing and also world champion in slalom. So a lot of changes and funny moments over the years. And I worked with a lot of designers, even with Robert Stroy, which is still doing the Neil Pride sails. We had some great success in the beginning of the sea sailing with a Speed Seeker, with some nice marketing behind it and nice looks on the water.
I love it.
How are you seeing it these days with the younger generation coming through? Are they having, obviously having a crack at the tours, but are they getting the opportunity with sponsorships as well? Is it broadening itself out across the fleet? The kids getting opportunities.
I think there's more opportunity again, but it's been rough, especially after 2001 with the Twin Towers scenario where nobody actually was buying much windsurfing equipment after that. And then other issues that we had around the roads. A lot of windsurfers, they love windsurfing and they had kids in business and forgot about windsurfing. They're coming back now. Yeah. I think that's one thing that we had from the pandemic, that a lot of windsurfers actually woke up their windsurfing hearts and got back out on the water. Yeah. And now they're trying to get the kids involved as well. So it's been a good illusion. Now you got to keep that moment up and keep it running. There's a few sports that are as cool and as young keeping as windsurfing is, really. You can do it with 10 and you can do it with 70. On Bonaire at our center, at the Dunkerbeck Pro Center on Bonaire, we have a couple that are windsurfing there every year for a month, and they're over 90 and they're still going. And there's plenty between 80 and 90, and there's a load there between 60 and 70.
Yeah. Wow.
So, windsurfing definitely is a fun sport, and it definitely keeps your mind fresh and wanting to do stuff.
Do you reckon with the kiting, when that came in, like I've got a few mates who went from windsurfing to kiting, then they came back to windsurfing. Have you seen that as well? Like, as far as people just keep coming back to windsurfing?
I see a thing like skiing and snowboarding, one benefit from another, and then the karting comes out. Windsurfing and kiting, of course, if you live in a light wind area where there's not much water depth, then kiting is more attractive. And now wingfoiling's been popping up because it's easy to put in a small compact car. You can pump it up and go out on the water and have a blast in relatively shitty conditions, as you say down there in Australia. And windsurfing is just need a bit more of a van so you carry your kit around. But then again, if you put it into perspective, what is more fun? Kiting, windsurfing, or wingfoiling? I believe windsurfing is a lot more fun, but I always need a bit more space and a bit more dedication,
So definitely the passion's still there for windsurfing. Have you managed to get out on a wing ding and go for a kite for that matter? Have you had a go at all that sort of stuff? Obviously, you would have had a go.
Well, I did it in the beginning, but I decided that I have a keeper for myself because everyone was trying to do the kite thing down at Kanaha.
Yeah.
And I had a great few, and I guess I got another world title because of that, because everyone is trying to do that kite stuff, and I just stayed on windsurfing.
So tell me, Bjorn, all of this, how much were you involved in the technical side, in the sense of fin shapes, the surface tensions about the bottom of the boards, all that sort of stuff? Is that a big thing for you?
Yes, I was always saying, if I'm prepared well fitness wise, and I had the best equipment, and no one's going to beat me, and that was my whole trick, just to be in front with the equipment. Doesn't matter if it was the boards, the fins, or the sails. We were always like a step ahead. And
well, that'll trickle down. That'll trickle down into the industry and created the evolution, especially in those early 90s. I mean, I vividly remember getting one of the very early cambered sails, and that was going from a non-cambered to a cambered sail just blew my mind. I just couldn't believe the difference in power. And once we sort of mastered that a little bit and started, we just got faster and faster and faster. And that is what you guys were working on. And then it was coming down to us, and we were able to experience that technology. So
still going. The steps are not as big anymore, but it still is feelable.
Yeah, we go through that. We go through that in sailing as well, in our sport or in our side of it, where we just wonder where it's going to end, and then something comes out and blows our mind.
I'm interested.
That's nice too.
I'm interested. What's the weirdest idea you guys saw or you had when you were trying different things out? Like where you're sitting there and you're sort of experimenting. Because like one of the classic ones is, I'm thinking back to the sails, when BP said the early cambered sails, we still ran tight leeches, because everyone was course racing trying to get upwind, but then leeches just got softer and softer and softer and everything's just hanging open. And I'm just thinking, there's all sorts of extraordinary ways you could create that. What was one of the do you remember any weird things that were thrown out there as ideas? Because I tell you, Barry Spanier likes weird ideas.
Barry Spanier still likes weird ideas. But also we did actually have a slalom line, was more in it for shorter, lower aspect, deeper foils on the sails to have more power out of the jibe. And the course racing were higher aspect and tighter leads to be able to be quicker on the upwind, because obviously you're going to be a first guy at the upwind mark. You have a big advantage over the other guys, And we actually sold 20,000 of each in the best years of Neil Pride, of the slalom sales and of the racing sales. There was a lot of interest, and there was lots of racing going on all over the national tours everywhere, and people were on fire, and this could definitely come back again. Yeah,
I think the other thing is we have to look, in all honesty, with the Olympics now that they've gone to the foiling board.
Mm-hmm.
And the size of the people and numbers competing, it's back in front of the youth again. And they're all sure they're foiling boards, but then they do other forms of windsurfing. But it's actually sucking people back into windsurfing again. That the Olympics, it seems to me.
Absolutely, great stuff.
Yeah,
I go foiling every time it's light. I prefer actually the with a 10 meter, like 6 knots. I can go 20 knots with a 10 square meter.
There should be a world record. There should be a world record for.
It's not a white cap out there, You're just like flying. It's like great feeling.
That is amazing. But I'm trying to say there should be a world record for greatest differential in wind speed and boat speed. Like 6 knots and 20 knots. That's
it's good.
I'll add another aspect to that. You get your crew weight on there, so you got a power to weight ratio in lightest wind possible.
Big algorithm. So Bjorn, you got your son, you're saying, going to this wave sailing competition. What's your advice when you're standing on the beach with him? Go out and smash him, have the best timing in life, whatever it is.
He was on a board before he knew you had one. He was on the surfboard when he was like 4.
Yeah,
and windsurfing with 5, tandem planing with 5 years. I don't know, maybe you've seen one of the pictures that's been out there. We actually had a couple of cover shots on the surf magazines, both in Germany and Spain, when he was only like 5 years old. fully planing at 20 knots, and it's like all stuff that's gone into his body, and he's like a European Kai Lenny, basically. He can do anything.
European Kai Lenny.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that he's been around the water. He must be a true waterman now.
Yeah, he's a multi-Canadian surfing champion in all categories, top 3 in Spain as well, which is a pretty high-level surfing community. He did the wingfoiling tour last year, was 6th at the Defi Wind, and was Spanish champion. He's won the U17 World Championships in wave sailing, last year the U20, and this year he's probably going to win the U20 again, and was 15th in the open category in the wave sailing. So
hey, Björn, your son's not behind you. Can we get him on?
He's actually had his driver's. He says during his driver's license, he's had his driver's course this morning. I saw him walking back into the house a little while ago.
Oh, it's all over now, mate. It's all over now. He doesn't need dad anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Speaking of family, your sister Britt, didn't she won a few records in her time as well? She was not too bad.
No, we actually won our very first World Cup together in 1987 in San Francisco. Yeah. And the second one the same year in Guadeloupe. Yeah. And she actually managed to win 17 world titles from 1985 to 95.
Jesus.
What a failure. Only 17.
Yeah. Fuck, shit
and
house.
she did the world speed record in Fuerteventura in 86 when Pascal Maca actually broke the 37 knots, which was the world record at the time.
That's right. I remember that one. Yes. Yeah. No.
Must be interesting. Must be interesting at Christmas dinners at the Dunkerbeck household. 17 world champions. If you let us down, Britt.
I love it. It is quite an amazing life. Like the other thing I'm interested in, because you sit there and we've got the Red Bull sponsorship there. We can see quite clearly, even for the listeners, most of this goes out on audio, but for the people who are just listening, Bjorn's dressed in full Red Bull. We know Robbie's still a big part of the Red Bull team. Is there with that whole collection of Red Bull athletes, we've met quite a few through our careers because of the work we've been doing. Do you go off on little secret meetings and you get to hang out with all the coolest people in the world and just
doing flips in helicopters and all
drive
that
Formula
sort of
One cars or what? Like, do you get a choice of using each other's gear? Is that how it works?
It happens to have get-togethers.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd see
That's
too many
it.
Formula One.
We will not tell anymore.
So have you driven the Formula One car, Bjorn? No, you wouldn't fit in them.
What about a touring car? What about a touring car?
I did a podcast with Bravus just a month ago.
Oh, yeah,
it's going to come out soon. And I drove a 4x4 with 900 horsepower.
Mate.
So don't miss that one. It's going to be out next week, I think.
Yeah, okay.
A few more horsepower than the Defender, Bjorn.
We obviously got you on to talk about windsurfing. Is there any other thing outside of windsurfing that you get up to, like driving 900 horsepower 4x4s?
It was pretty cool. Well, I do a bit of diving over the years, mountain biking to keep fit, but it's good fun as well.
Yep.
And always nature sports.
Yeah.
Other than that, spend time with the family, but I'm not a crazy motorbike driver or car driver. I plenty of fun on my windsurf board out there.
Yeah.
To get my adrenaline up and do snowboarding when it's good, and get down the mountain reasonably well when the snow is good. And, that's pretty much it.
When we had Robbie on the show, we talked a lot about his cars. We ended up being a car podcast, we think.
But so you're 54. Is that what you said, Bjorn? 54? In July. How many days do you spend on the water now?
As many as possible. I do combine it between windsurfing and foiling and stand-up paddling, so I do get quite a few.
Yeah. And so obviously the course racing was a big part of your life as well. As far as, we're all kind of yachties, but tactically, was that something you learned along the way as far as putting your board in the best position when it came to course racing, or
absolutely
quite natural?
Yeah, because I did the one design, then division 2, so the tactics were there already, starting procedure, all that.
Yeah.
I much prefer the course racing over the slalom because it was more of a thinking situation,
Mm,
and also
exactly.
like an endurance race. So I was actually pro course racing, and I was very fast for as long as it lasted. I wasn't going to do the Formula windsurfing with the 1 meter board. I said, no, that's definitely not what I was thinking of fun thing to do.
No.
So I skipped that whole thing and focused on speed sailing instead.
Yep.
Small boards, small fins, small sails, faster.
That just answers the question I was about to ask you. Is did you ever do any dinghy sailing? Did you ever get out there and have a go at just normal dinghy sailing?
I did a little bit of optimism when I was very young because they had some centers around here. I did a bit of hobby cat sailing just for fun of it, but not any racing.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you got...
And I was on the America's Cup boat when I was in Valencia. They wanted to have me for the Chinese-French boat, the red one. And I was
I was there for that one.
On the winch.
On the Grinders, yeah.
I don't want to be on the winch. If I'm going to do
definitely
this,
got into that.
Tactics. I don't want to be there on the winch here.
we were 3 doors up from you. I was with the French, so it was there you go. I didn't know you were there. What a cup that was.
Yeah, I didn't compete. I was just there in the training, and I decided I was not going to skip the windsurfing tour for the America's Cup. So
standing on a boat, swinging your arms all day.
And every time you tack, you have to like hide so that you can't even see anything.
Yeah.
What about slowing it down with your head?
What about the boats today? The America's Cup boats and the Sail GP boats. Have you had a chance to get on one of those?
No, but I could if I wanted to. I just haven't had any time.
Oh man, I'd love to be able to say that.
That's right. I work for Sail GP and I don't even get to go on them. So what about? I'm interested, Bjorn. Your family moved to Gran Canaria. You know, your folks are there. They've got the windsurfing centre. If you hadn't done windsurfing, had you thought about, like when you were a kid, were you thinking about what job you were going to do, or was it always going to be a windsurfer?
It just happened. It happened so quickly I didn't even know it.
Yeah, right. So
it's still happening quickly.
It's still happening.
But you know,
there's no turning back anyways now.
No, that's right.
You're not going to go and do a uni degree, you reckon?
Absolutely not. I did my uni degree on the traveling program instead.
Yeah.
So what about running your business? You know, like you are the business of Bjorn. You've got, not only have you got all the schools and the training centres, but you know, you as a person, you've been competing as a professional for so long now, so since 17. So that business mind, have you had to learn some lessons hard, or have you had a manager that sort of backed you in? How have you run it over the years as a pro?
Well, unfortunately, the problem with the business is the employees. They're experts in doing as little as possible and hide as much as possible.
Yep.
And that is the case. I mean, it could have been much bigger, much better if they had a bit of dedication instead of like trying to just like do nothing if possible. So
motivation
moments over the years.
Yeah, motivation is a rare commerce, isn't it?
Yeah. Too bad. But I also took over the postal competition, as you guys know, the World Cup on Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
Which my parents started in 1989 and did 23 editions.
Wow.
Then Daida Ibaya, which have been multiple world champion from Gran Canaria. They have 28 titles altogether. They passed it over to me, so I organized that last year, and I'm going to do that for the many years to come. And this year it's going to be wave sailing from the 1st to the 9th of July. Obviously, you can see that all live on the live stream.
Yep.
Then we're going to do wing from the 11th to the 16th. And this plan was to get slalom back as well in the windsurfing part, but I'm still missing a bit of budget. So if anyone wants to sponsor the slalom part, then slalom will be back in Poso. At the moment, unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to happen because it costs money and it's not completed yet. But then we're going to postpone it and try to find sponsorship for next year. We definitely want to have slalom back in Poso, a high wind slalom.
High wind slalom, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Remember the days, BP?
Yep.
Just watching, specifically you, Bjorn, just ripping it up in the slalom, like early 90s.
Coming into the short of the jibe mark. And
my
God.
Massive.
Loved it.
So that would be sensational. And there's a lot of listeners that will be listening to this. Probably won't sponsor it. They'd definitely get behind it though.
Disney.
But who knows?
Roy,
Who knows?
Roy Disney listens. We can get Roy Disney. You want Disney sponsorship? you could do a movie about it.
Anyone welcome, you know. In every competition, every event needs sponsors to be able to finance the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's America's Cup or the Soccer World Championships or Windsurfing World Cup in Poso. Without money, it's not happening.
Correct.
So
I think reading through your bio, Bjorn, well, obviously 42 world titles and 162 wins on the PWA Tour or whatever it was. So you've been involved in a lot of events. Has one event just stood out, like just blown your mind, like this is the best thing I've ever seen? And you try to replicate it?
There's been so many, obviously. Beating Robbie Nash the first time always has to be one of the biggest ones. Then actually be able to win all three disciplines in the World Cup as a building slalom, waves, racing, and the overall for 3 years consecutive. I think it was 93, 94, 95, or 94, 95, 96. So I was in number one seed in all three disciplines for over 1,000 days.
Yeah, that's the big one.
I did manage to win all three disciplines later in the 90s as well. Again, I think I did it 7 times altogether. And I believe being able to still go out there, have a great time on the water now is still like one of the greatest thing ever, you know?
Yeah.
And being able to break the 100Ks on call. I said, I'm going to break 100Ks sooner or later. And I've done it 5 times now. So
yeah,
there's always a new highlight. And that's what windsurfing is all about. You know, you can always have a new highlight.
I love it. Love it.
What about, you know, you're a lucky man. You've spent your whole life traveling and competing and been to a lot of amazing places specifically for windsurfing. I'm interested, kind of slightly different question to Bicey's. What is the best place you've ever had a windsurfer session? Like, is there one spot where you've just gone, I know Gran Canaria you're going to say that, but if we exclude Gran Canaria for one, but is there one spot where you've just gone, holy crap, how good is this place?
Well, obviously, Gran Canaria, we have 7 islands. 4 of them are very good for windsurfing.
Yeah.
Then you have Maui, Oahu. Then you have Australia. The West Coast is great. You know, you have Mauritius, and there's 100 of islands in the Pacific, which are great for windsurfing as well.
Yeah.
We actually have a competition down there. Last year was the first time at Cloudbreak, where I went down with Liam and participated in Masters. I'm going back now from the 1st to 11th of June. It's going to be hopefully on live internet with the IWT PWA Fusion, the wave sailing part this year, which makes them have 20 competitions. So I'll be competing in the Masters at Cloudbreak at some stage between the 1st and the 11th of June as well.
At Cloudbreak?
And yeah.
How's Cloudbreak on it?
Well, didn't Scotty O'Connor, I think Scotty O'Connor ended up running one of the islands there.
Nemoto,
yeah.
He was there for over 20 years. I think he just sold out a few years ago, but he's been one of the masters of disasters down there, let me tell you.
Yes, that was him. Oh, dear. A master of disaster. I love it. Yeah, so, well, that'll be pretty cool. You're right.
Okay, so tell me, Bjorn, you go on a Cloudbreak. How do you get all your kit down there?
On a boat. Same as surfing, you know, it's like 10 Ks off the coastline.
No. But you're leaving Gran Canaria now. Like, what kit are you sending down there for that?
I take 2 board bags, 2 board bags, 3 or 4 sails. That's it.
Oh, yeah. So, okay.
What about Marston Boom?
LA. Yeah, exactly. 2 board bags. 2 board bags, Liam, 2 board bags, Daddy, and then we go. Gran Canaria, Madrid, Los Angeles, Nanny. 24-hour in plane.
Sorted.
Spot someone that's done a lot of plane flying. I love it. You know,
at essence, it doesn't change. It's you know, just a waterman like us all. We love it. We know how to get there. We know what to take.
All right. Okay.
Well, you know, the new owner of the IWT is actually an Australian person, Simon Grassoff from the East Coast as well.
Right.
You must know him. He's been windsurfing forever. He's like 1 year younger than me.
Simon, what was his last name?
Get you on the show sometime. Simon Grasso.
Okay. I think I know the name, but I can't remember the face. So, yeah. But yeah, we will do that actually. That'd be good. Thanks for the tip. But, you know, like it sounds like Liam's dragging you back into the wave sailing, mate.
Well, I never left for the certs. I did many years of the certs after, but obviously when you have done so many years of World Cup racing, slalom, and wave sailing, then you have a couple of injuries, you know. I mean, I have my first titanium hip since 4 years already. My second one is also like squeaking. And it's not the same as jumping a poso at 10 to 15 meters heights over the water for like 20 years in a row.
Yeah.
At 85 to 90 kilos, and I'm 110, you know, so the landings are a little bit harder.
Yeah. So now it's two board.
So much impact already.
So now
might have to insert a grease nipple.
Just about to say, Vicey. So it's 2 board bags, it's a couple of masts, a couple of windsurfers, a selection of fins, and a oil can.
Fuck, we're the ones who need the oil can. Bjorn, you've been killing it for many years, mate. Sensational, and it must be just satisfying to see your son come through and take part in all of that. Are the other kids into it as well?
They all know. I mean, Alba is 20. She knows how to surf, stand-up paddle, and also windsurf. They're very good in rhythmic gymnastics. They were both Canadian and Spanish champions in their categories. Martina knows to do everything. She's currently actually Canadian champion in the gymnastics.
Wow.
And very sportive. Daniel is only 10, but he's a multi-talent as well. Surfing, windsurfing, skate park, snowboarding. Jesus. And
Christmas is pretty fucked at your joint. Who's got the most prizes?
Wow. The world's biggest trophy cabinet. So, all right.
Well, anyways, you want to follow me, you can follow me on both Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's all about motivation, you know. So
you know how I got you, didn't you?
To get out on the water all the time,
mate. Bjorn, it's not only motivation, but it's inspiration, right? And this is going to go to a lot of listeners. And we all grew up in the windsurfing world and know you from the late 80s, early 90s. But to those kids who are listening out, this is purely inspirational. Yeah. Like, Google, follow Bjorn for all the listeners. This is,
the story.
It's a bit of a fan thing for us, to tell you the truth, Bjorn. So we
don't fan out.
Pretty
often.
Privileged, man.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny.
Thank you. I've been trying to get Ian Fox to make a competition down at the Sandy Points for the past 20 years already. So maybe it's going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Jordan, there's your calling, mate. Come on,
get him up.
Yeah, we'll get the Fox dog onto it.
Yeah, get the Fox dog onto it.
I love it. Bjorn, mate, it's been an absolute joy to hang out, and we appreciate you taking time. You're a good man, keep those squeaky hips going, and good luck. Just keep.
I will.
We'll just look forward to hanging out and watching you some more, mate.
Okay.
Good on you, man.
Bjorn.
Thanks a lot, Bjorn. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, mate.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
Got to be honest with you. I did just sort of respond to a couple of Facebook things that came up with Bjorn doing some stuff, and I sent the message. Didn't expect to get the message back, but bang, in the inbox it came, and I rang you pretty well straight away, I think, Jordan.
Yep.
Didn't it come back as, is this BP from Barkarati?
Aren't you friends with Bicey and Jordan?
I remember Jordan.
Played cricket with him back in Oz. No, but it was super cool to have him on the show. And you know what got me was just after all these years and all these experiences, the passion is still massive. I mean, it's just, promoting windsurfing. Get into it. It's great for the family. You know, we've got kids, we've got 80-year-olds, we've got 90-year-olds, and get into your schools and blah, blah. It was great.
Yeah, it was. I mean, what a life, hey? What a life.
What a life.
Insane. But, happy days, and I bet he's glad his parents took him to the Canaries at such a young age.
Oh, my God.
What a life.
You think about... lives in general of different people, but if you were to choose one,
sensational, sensational.
Cool. Yeah. What made me laugh all the time was every time he said he was going to go somewhere, he'd give you the full routing on the airlines, you know.
He's done a bit, hasn't he?
We've done some travel in our time, boys, but that he sounded like he'd done
our travel's a bit different. Our travel's not exactly to super hot windsurfing locations in the middle of nowhere.
That's true.
So,
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind going over the speed trench too, little route. So
I'd love to have that a go. I did have a speed board when I was young, and I did enjoy that. I did really like locking in and trying to get it as fast as you could, but obviously nowhere near that. But that
we had Sultana Point in in South Australia for our speed runs.
I remember one specific time. And
here we go. This is going to be like your paddling story, Jordan.
Yeah, no, this is,
like he took the bait beautifully.
Do you remember how we used to get the tides, and we used to have the little sandbars along a semaphore, and there would be a flat, often would be a flat channel. There was one time that just was going off in a westerly, and it was dead flat water, but it was like 30 knots a breeze. Because the waves weren't getting over the bar. Yeah, and I remember we were going on that, and we were doing monstrous speed along there, and just about touching people walking along coming the other way.
Give a little high five on the way through.
The semaphore speed channel.
The semaphore speed channel.
Semaphore trench.
Only once in my entire windsurfing.
Was there a person at the end with the flag signalling when to go, doing something?
I would have loved to have.
When all the stars had aligned,
the
semaphore trench came into play.
The semaphore trench. I love
semaphore trench, speed trench. So keep that one in mind for the future.
Love it.
Anyway, moving forward.
Cool. Other news. Shall we move on then, my friends? Other club events. This is a perfect example of how to do it. Chris Gartman has sent in a club event, which is the Denver Sailing Association. Now, what I do know about Denver in Colorado is that's where all the triathletes go to train. So my wife used to be a pro triathlete, and that's at altitude, and it's cold. So I know nothing about the sailing, but I think it's on the Cherry Creek Reservoir in Aurora. They're having their hornblower and shootout regattas. Now that scares me, and when they say the word shootout in the US, that does scare me a little bit. But anyway,
I was thinking the other thing. Hornblower. The word horn and shoot really scares me.
and add blower in there.
If you mix those up a little bit, the wording could be a bit different.
You can take your ping pong bat along, boss.
The Sean Blower shootout.
Anyway, it's May 20 and 21st schedule events. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I think racing, you can register on Saturday from 9 a.m. Racing, first warning signal Sunday is at midday. And so ongoing racing, lots of food and entertainment.
I love it. I love what the last little paragraph there is post-race $5 burger dinners.
$5 burger dinner. So it sounds perfect, doesn't it? It absolutely sounds perfect.
You did touch on it a second ago, Jay, that this guy's done it right. We will mention your event. Send it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good on you, Chris.
Just back to the triathlon bit again. Denver at altitude and it's cold. Kona in Hawaii at sea level, very hot.
Right.
Two opposing things you could imagine. No, I hear what you're saying. When you're training at altitude, you don't want to train
You're a bloody good athlete. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Right.
You did okay. You did okay.
Yeah, you did okay. Jack Lloyd, listener of the week.
Plenty of correspondence through the mailbox this week.
Well, that was expected, wasn't it? After what we in an industry went through last week. What are we going to say?
Well, listener of the week is to all the ladies and women that send us notes saying that they'd experienced similar things. And one saying thank you for calling it out on our show. It wasn't us. It went through the guys at Scuttlebutt first, that first letter. So it's opened the channels of conversation.
It did, actually.
Yeah. So I guess we're just saying the overpowering message was just look out for each other. So I think a lot of the women actually that wrote in said, the majority of people are great, and they just ask for people to speak up if they see something going on. Stop it. That's it. So that they
as blokes, just if your mate's being a dickhead, pull him up on it. That's pretty, yeah.
That's how Barkarati works.
Simple as that. That's right. You should see some of the behind the scenes stuff going on.
But yeah, look, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm 100% believe that our sport's better with the more women in it, the better. You know, I think that
no question.
The talent and dedication, you know, they have to work so much harder for their spots, and so I have more respect, I think, for women. So I want it to be as easy for women as possible. I want, you know, if I had a daughter, I'd want them to sail, and I want them to sail and be safe, and I'd want them to have every opportunity in the world.
And win at all costs. You'll be there in your coach boat.
No, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
I'd be coaching, but I wouldn't be a high stress dude. I'm too low stress for that. But anyway, the point is just they called out for. They did. It was consistent messaging, but basically, you know, speak up, blokes, if you see something going on and help them out. But don't do it if you're the guy that's doing it. You know, and I think the world's moving on, so hopefully we can get there quicker. That's the goal. So yeah. And apologies to everyone that has suffered.
So merch packs to everyone that wrote in. Stand by at the local mailbox because this may or may not arrive.
Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Yeah, must be getting low on merch.
Very low on merch.
It's hot time with Bice.
In front of the crew house.
The crew house.
How are they handling it?
Just ripping my trackies off.
doing the hot time with Bice dance around the crew house.
Oh, dear.
Rightio, boys. It's kind of like a bit on this week, actually. Just a bit of a random week. That early May. Let's chuck a few regattas out there.
Yep.
One of which being the TP52s in St. Tropez.
Yeah.
So that circuit is back up and running, the Super Series.
First
What
time?
a place to sail.
Yeah, but
Love
it's
that
the first
place.
time there, isn't it?
Yeah.
In St. Tropez, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good place to sail, but you got to pull on the white slacks afterwards and go and have a few rosés.
Well, that's
It's
it.
not a bad part of the world.
Play a bit of bocce.
At time of recording, Preveza and Allegra are top of the list. Well, actually not. Preveza, Allegra, and Quantum.
Yeah.
25, 26, 27 points. So that's as things currently stand with, I believe, 1 day to go. So by the time you listen to this, it would have been run and won. 11 boats on the start line.
Hey?
11 boats on the start line.
Yep,
So it's not dwindling, the fleet.
No. And I don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah, and you look at the crew list.
Oh yeah, there's some
It's
names
pretty
there.
hot.
Yeah.
So that's a series that we'll be keeping a close eye on this year.
Absolutely.
And gents, you're going to have to update me here on this one. I haven't been following him, but Xavier, our good friend on the Little Aussie Lap.
Yep.
He's up and running.
He's up and running, and he'll be in some good conditions right now. So he's doing live stream. So if you go to Little Aussie Lap on Facebook, he's doing live stuff coming off that. So he's underway. He's been going for 2 days, or a day and a half, basically, is the honest truth. And the last live stream was last night. He was just north of Noosa. So he'll be up near the top of Fraser now. And in good conditions. He was just cruising along. Life had been pretty happy. He hadn't even gone down below. He'd been going for a day. Hadn't even gone down below. He had a beanbag under a little. He's added a little awning sort of thing off the back of the cabin, and he's just camped in under that, and he's having a great time. But he's going for the lap around Australia in a mini. So BP, he has to average about 150 mile a day in a mini. What do you reckon?
Well, it's a big call.
Ooh, it's a big call.
It is a big call. But look, that's what it's about, isn't it? Getting out there. We mentioned when we first had him on that, he should do some fishing, but if he wants to do 150 mile, he's not going to be able to throw a line over the back.
Well, he's had sort of lightish winds, but he's hooked into, there's a hell of a trade sort of set up just off the top of Fraser. And so it's southeast trade, so it's 3/4 downwind, and it's just he'll be go right to the Cook Strait just on that. He'll be able to ride that the whole way at full noise. So
this part of the world, he should be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if he could pull out a couple of 150 plus mile days. he'd want to be trying to get some in the bank. That's what he'd be doing, because across the top can be notorious.
Well, if all plays out, I'm going to say he gets to Darwin one job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, if all plays out that he does more than 150 miles per day, I might just mention to him when he starts getting around south, the brisket's still on.
Yeah.
They can feel free to pop up, and I'll whip him some stuff off the barge.
I love it. I love it.
It might work, actually. You know, the ocean race just a bit too serious, really, for them to pull in it. Xavier might just be saying by then, you know what, I've got a bit in the bank. I might just cruise up that way and get hold of that.
But speaking of which, gents, the ocean race.
Yes.
Oh, how good is it at the moment?
We spoke about it last week. The last time I looked, I'm just bringing up the tracker now.
Yep.
That Militia had just slipped ahead.
No, they're literally touching each other at the moment. I checked before paddling this morning, and
yes, 11th hour team Militia could be up on some sort of charges. They're getting so close to each other.
Yeah. So when I checked this morning, they were 0.16 of a mile apart. Now they're 4 mile apart, and it's just they're about to. If I was tactician, I'd be heading to the left of the rum line at the moment because they're about to go upwind. But I reckon new wind's going to come out of the left is where I'd be sort of playing it. But yeah, there's a real battle going on. Our poor old friends at Geo are just having a nightmare. I think their foil, they had something wrong with their foil mount. But it's interesting times. There's going to be a tough day tomorrow. The next 24 to 36 hours, I reckon, could be really decisive for the overall result.
Yeah, absolutely. To get into that next system.
Yeah.
To make their way north to Newport, of which will be all police officers will be on standby, given the last were there. But
Andrew
where's
Capey?
But of course, the race within the race is how's Wholesome going to get back on the start line? At the moment, Ship is timing wise looks as though it's going to arrive 2 days before the leg start.
Massive.
I'm not sure what the rig story is. I haven't found.
Yeah, they got a new rig.
It's coming on that.
It's being sent to Newport. It'll be there before the boat.
Okay,
so the boat's going on a ship, and then the new rig is going to be in Newport before the boat turns up. So they should be able to have it fitted.
So I should. To chuck a rig in is pretty simple.
Yeah, they should be able to just bang, bang.
The issue would be if there's anything structural happen, like when the rig came down, if it did something to the coach roof or anything like that. But maybe Kevin's girlfriend will be doing those repairs while it's on the ship.
Yeah, that's right. But I did. There was a question that came up on one of the feeds and asking about start times, and the start is open. So if they are running late, they can start at any stage. So you want to be on the start line. There's no question, but they can start a day or two late and still be part of the race. So,
and let's not forget when that happened back in what was that 14-15 race E3. I mean, complete different circumstances here. E3 had a massive bow repair to do. Yep. Started a few days late, ended up winning the leg.
Yeah.
Here we're going straight across the Atlantic, but different circumstance, but yeah.
I've got to ask. I actually don't know off the top of my head. It's a one design rig, right? In the IMOCAs, but is it just the sections one design? Like you've got to buy the section, or
correct,
and then they can fit it out however they want, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure
whether I just suddenly thought of that.
Takeoff points are, but it's quite a simple setup. No spreaders or anything. Yeah. So it's all pretty simple from that regard.
You'd be funny if you forgot you didn't.
So
have
just
your
a bit of some nice rope smithing.
Bit of rope
and you're
smithing.
back on board.
Back on board. Bit of rope smithing.
Rope smithing. I love it.
Love it.
I love a bit of rope smithing. Now, look, a couple of questions also came up about, they were sailing under a J2, I think they said they were at the time, or and the swivel gave way. And they actually came on saying that the swivel had been checked and, they were happy with using it. The question came up in one of the feeds also about why do you rely just on that as your forestay? And it's a big question, isn't it? I
haven't read the rules for quite some time, but when we started looking at things, there had to be a permanent forestay when we were looking at
the thing just fell over backwards.
So But a permanent forestay, does that include it has a swivel inline?
Well, don't know, but wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know.
Remember the 65s when the first lap of the 65s they had a problem with the halyard lock on the jibs. I reckon we had to redesign that. Remember?
Yeah, but it's got a permanent forestay, right?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of load goes through that halyard lock mount point.
But massive load going. And if you think about what that swivel's doing, I mean, the loads are all it's designed for it. There's no question. But the failure side of it, that's it fails.
My worst nightmare is BP, and
what's your worst nightmare?
And running into a vaulting horse flat out.
No,
and someone calling me
ripped his neck. That's an Aussie joke for everyone over 40. So you're doing the Vendée, right?
Sorry, I'm gone.
Yeah, you're doing the Vendée, and you're up the rig doing your checks, right? And you get a failure while you're up the rig doing your checks. That's my worst nightmare. Like, that's the thing that freaks me out about single-handed stuff. Like if you're up in the sky and bang, something goes, man. That's it's not. Yep. That's Alex Thompson to the extreme.
You know what scares me?
What?
Even more than that?
What?
Being up a J class rig.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yes. No,
but anyway, the ocean race is still it's going gangbusters at the moment, and I didn't think we were going to see this sort of intensity. I thought it might sort of not be as close, but at least it's turned into a match race. And that
I think it's really exciting for the future of the race if it can keep a hold of this. Keep hold of this. Yeah. If they can run off the growth in the Amoca itself with 40 plus entrants and people missing out.
Yep.
Do the people missing out go, well, you know what?
I'll do
Well,
apparently
I was asked this exact question yesterday.
Oh, were you?
From some of the boys on board.
Yeah.
One of which who said, I don't even watch it anymore.
Yeah, right.
So I'm getting a bit of mixed commentary.
Yeah, no.
And quite a few messages from different people.
But
the question being, is the Amoca going to survive? And exactly what you say, BP. You've got a fleet of 40 boats there ready to go.
Yeah.
But what does this event look like in the future?
Well,
personally, I think it's going to turn into a double-handed race.
Yeah.
Long term.
Could be. Remember, Johan said...
The ocean race.
Yeah. Remember they're heavily subscribed? Johan said how heavily subscribed they were. But a lot of teams coming out now. I suspect it's going to be the saviour in the end. Like once people got their head around the idea.
Once they get and they can find the money, but it'd be hard to see like a boat like Linked Out or Tomer or the Charal for that matter.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to see them not wanting to be part of this if they can commercialise it in the way they want to.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it'll just roll in and end up becoming part of it. I wouldn't be surprised if Dick and Johan decide to just roll it into the Amoca world.
Series.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm sure Richard Breezius loves being called Dick.
Yeah, Dick Breeze.
Dick Breeze.
Anyway.
Sorry, Richard.
Big listener.
Apologies.
That's on the uncensored comms, that one. Right, boys, the next bit.
Yeah, the next bit.
This is a good one. Out of our friends from Persco in Italy, a big foiling, cruising cat going to do 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's going to be a massive build.
Yeah.
But could possibly be one of the bigger builds that we've seen, not as in size, but we've seen within the industry and seeing some technology and some serious trickle down.
Well, all I'll say is we know Mark Somerville listens to the show. And Mark, we love you. We're great friends of yours. And we're ready to go sailing. We're more than happy.
Anytime you want some testing. Actually, I'm a bit busy next couple of months, but I'm definitely ready after that.
So what we're talking about is the Persico Cat 72. So they've just announced it's a foiling sailing cat with lifting foils. So it's a cruising boat, but it should be able to do so the speed of a racing boat. So 72 foot long, Morellian Melvin design. They're building it now. So it's got riding moment foils, which you can control rake. They're going to be 7 metres long, with including dagger boards for leeway, T-rudders. Should become as effective in as little as 9 knots of wind. So the boat could be doing up to 20 knots in 13 knots. Full carbon lightweight interior. All electric motors. Do we plug Southern Spars, your second father's company, Bryce? It's a glamour-looking toy, and they reckon it'll do 40 knots downwind and 26 knots upwind in a cruising boat, and 8 knots with using no power. So, yep, I'm all for it. My wife wants one. So if anybody's willing to drop, a fair bit of money in my bank account.
Well, we're just gonna have to step this Barkarati thing up, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got to have to get more people not liking it, so they just send money.
That's our problem. Too many people like it. Yeah. No one's ever sent any money. Yeah. Anyway, we'll work on a different strategy, Bicey.
Anyway, she's a glamour ride. But have a bit of a look-see, but just how you want a boat, I reckon. Just cruising boat. Imagine doing 40 knots cruising.
You did say way back in episode 1, I think it was, that you wanted to go around the world on a cat. So maybe it's coming to fruition now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
all the stars are aligning once again.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be.
Semaphore Trench. Jordan gets a cat.
You just need to get your warship, mate.
All right, finally, boys, Port Stephens, Sail Port Stephens.
Bit about you.
There's a couple of fleets up here. Got the same team that ran Newcastle a few weeks ago, and we're running the different divisions last week here in Port Stephens. Well, it's like the longest regatta ever.
It just keeps going.
It's a glamour spot for those overseas who haven't been. Port Stephens is just gorgeous.
Yeah, lovely place to sail.
You know what, though?
What?
It's so beautiful where we are. We're at the Anchorage Marina. So quite a ways in to Port Stephens, and this beautiful waterway around. But then you've got to motor an hour and sail outside because there's not enough depth or enough room specifically for us. So last week they had what they called the cruising series. So there was a bit of inside stuff, bit of outside stuff. And put it this way, we wouldn't have wanted to be sailing 2 days ago or in 2 days' time. Because it was absolutely nuking, and it's about to go ballistic again.
Yep.
And we're caught right in the middle. Race off yesterday, we got 3 wind at Lordstown. It's a long day. And today we've got what they call the long race in Stuffall Breeze with a high pressure located directly over the top of us. I'm wearing a high pressure as a hat. Believe it or not.
You are. Like, it's not going to be super windy for a couple of days, but so you have to go outside. Jeez, I didn't even think about that. But it's still beautiful out there as well.
Yeah, it's a lovely little jaunt.
Yeah, we're tucked up just to north of Cabbage Tree Island, all of which we've been through around a few times, but never in the daylight. So it was good to have a bit of a look-ski.
Yeah, she's beautiful. And
so
that's where the Mile Lake's empty out down there as well, so into Hawk's Nest, I think. So, it's a great sailing venue. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, TPs, you've got how many boats you got there? 10? 8?
Yeah. Yep. Something like that. 9 or 10. Good fleet, of course. We got at the moment Matador leading. They're sailing very well. And then the likes of the Guilos, Lasol, and ourselves, Zen, Quest,
ourselves
and a bunch
being
of others.
The mighty secret men's business from South Australia.
Yeah, correct. So a big haul up here for the Orange boat.
Oh yeah, so
and we're trying to wave the flag.
So you had a win in the first race, though.
Yeah, we had a win in the first race. OCS in the second race. Top mark incident third race. Apart from that, it was a pretty good day.
If you stop making those mistakes, you'd probably go all right.
Yeah, no, good. She's good with the bow.
Have you thought about having a coach?
Now we've got a few on board.
Oh, that's funny. I love that. Of course you have. Yeah. No, that'd be cool. Yeah. Well, you're going sailing, so you're a winner. That's it. And then everyone else is happy.
Everyone is happy.
Oh, Sail GP.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sail GP.
Finally.
Oh, yeah.
Sail GP. Time of recording, though, nothing's started. Yeah. So
it's 7:30 tomorrow morning, our time.
Again, for those listening, we can't really tell you who won. You'll be
Don't know.
seeing it posted over the socials all this weekend.
And of course, I'm actually supposed to be there, but given I've got a grown-up job and other commitments, I couldn't attend. Couldn't go to San Francisco, so sorry to my Sail GP friends for not being there, because obviously the quality of the performance and everything will diminish without my presence.
100%.
Yeah, but it's not looking like it's going to be windy. We keep getting promised windy weather at San Fran. I mean, I've spent a lot of time sailing at San Fran, and I've never sailed in light winds there. And the Sail GP's not having the run. I'd love to see 25 San Francisco breeze. I'd love to see it. But
I've been sent a few. Training day today. And I've just been sent a few videos. So they're all up and about and foiling and having fun. But what's it going to look like on race day? That's for, let's not forget, the $1 million prize.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe. So, I mean, I'm just looking at windy, so there could be the localized element of the breeze.
It is very much a localized place to sail. But
where it sucks.
Let's see what happens. Looking forward to it.
Maybe we could do another review with our good friend Jody Chills after and see where we ended up on the $1 million discussion. Again, we had our mid-season review. We can do the end-of-season review. And
then it just rolls straight back in. So it continues to grow. So for those who are fans of Sail GP, there's even more events next year, and they roll straight into it. If you're based in the US, you're going to see, I think they're going to have Chicago, Los Angeles. Oh, I don't know if Los Angeles is announced. I hope I haven't said
New York, New Orleans, Miami. It's going everywhere. Vegas is going to be a good one.
Mexico, Nevada will be good.
Yeah, Vegas will be good.
Colorado, Boulder, in the reservoir. Yeah.
Aurora, Denver.
Yeah, Aurora. That's
going to be huge. It's going to be a huge.
You're naming places that you've seen. Where Dumb and Dumber went.
Alaska,
Aspen.
Are they going up to Canada?
Canada. I don't know. I think they might.
Oh, they should go to Canada for sure. Northern Australia.
I wonder how long it takes till that sticks. But everyone starts calling people from Canada Canada. I love it. All right. Anything else, my friends?
No.
Oh, I've got to go yachting. So need to prepare the body, the mind, the soul to get her out there on the water, ready to roll. I could almost write songs on that.
Yeah, listen to some bloody nice frequency of sound frequencies as you get out there, just to calm it down.
By the way, any of you blokes coming up for the Etchell Midwinters? Is that happening? Either of you?
No, we've retired.
You've retired?
Yep, retired. Yep, Negatore. I'll be over in the big continent.
But I might. Yeah, why not? I might come up.
I'll be not. Unfortunately, I have been speaking to my Etchell's counterpart, and it's been a bit of a tough one, but I've had to make the decision to move on,
retire,
because I've got a shitload on.
So there's a boat with David and Sandy and no Brett
at this stage. Yes. So maybe they need someone about 100 kilos.
Well, the J-Dog's down below 100 kilos. He's
looking good too.
3 days. He's got the full program. The bride's very happy at the moment. The weight's coming off because the J-Dog is going to have to jump on a boat for the midwinters. So yeah.
Well, maybe you need to just sack that person and come on with Sandy.
Yeah. Well, the phone. We'll see. I'm not that good at it these days. Anyway,
well done, lads. Very good.
Cool. Best of luck today, Bossy.
Yes. Farewell. See you in the soup.
Get your guitar out, BP.
Get the tunes on.